Okay, let's dive into this. Thanks for sharing all these sources on, well, a topic that feels incredibly relevant right now.
It really does.
We're just swimming in connectivity, aren't we? The constant pings, notifications, that feeling you need to be online everywhere all the time.
Yeah, it's like everyone's attention is this finite resource and it's constantly being stretched thin. You feel busy all day, but then, you look back and think, what did I actually achieve? Where was the valuable work?
Exactly. Which brings us right to this core idea you've been looking into, deep work.
Hmm.
So based on this material, deep work it's that focused, completely undistracted effort on one thing, right? Something cognitively demanding that really pushes your skills.
That's the essence of it. Think working at your absolute mental peak, creating something new, maybe mastering something really tricky. It's the polar opposite of what these sources call shallow work.
Ah, shallow work. Okay, so that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
The emails, the meetings, the admin stuff.
Right. Logistical tasks, things that don't demand intense focus. You can kind of do them while half distracted. Multitasking even.
Easy to replicate, doesn't require deep thought.
Precisely. Sorting emails, scheduling, quick questions, endless scrolling. And the crucial point the sources make is that while shallow work feels busy, it doesn't often create real value. You can burn hours on email, but have you actually moved the needle on anything important?
It's a trap, feeling productive without actually being productive in a meaningful sense.
Totally.
So for this deep dive, our mission, looking at these Cal Newport sources and related ideas, is to really unpack deep work. We want to get why this skill is apparently becoming super valuable,
Increasingly valuable.
but also, paradoxically, much rarer,
Mm.
and how it connects to, living a more meaningful life. And crucially, what practical things can you, listening, actually take away and use?
Yeah, the how-to is key, but first let's really nail down that divide. Deep work creates new value, improves your skills, hard for someone else to just jump in and do.
Like writing a complex report, coding something innovative, mastering a tough concept.
Exactly. And shallow work doesn't create much new value, easy to replicate. Think logistics, admin. It's necessary, sure, but it's not where the breakthroughs happen.
You could probably outsource a lot of it.
Often, yes. And it's so easy to measure your day by the volume of shallow tasks. Inbox zero, number of meetings attended, but that's a flawed metric, right? It's a dangerous substitute for real productivity.
Okay, so let's talk about why going deep is apparently so valuable now. The first point seems to be about learning.
Absolutely. Learning hard things quickly. In today's economy, mastering complex skills it's becoming the barrier to entry for many good jobs.
And deep concentration is the key to that.
It's the bedrock. The sources mentioned Sertalanges way back, talking about focusing attention like a lens concentrating light.
And modern neuroscience actually backs this up, which is fascinating. Intense focus helps build myelin. Is that right?
Yeah, myelin. It's like insulation around your neurons. Think of it like coating a wire. More myelin means faster, more efficient circuits in your brain for that specific skill.
So getting really good at something complex literally involves building up these well-myelinated pathways through focused practice.
Exactly. You're physically changing your brain through deep work. But it's not just learning, it's also about producing at an elite level.
High quality, high speed output.
Right, because you're not constantly switching contexts. You're immersed.
That story about Jason Ben in the sources really illustrates this. This was a guy at a financial firm spending, 98% of his day just web surfing.
Incredible, isn't it? Basically, pure, shallow activity. He saw a task that could be automated with code, but he didn't know how.
So he didn't just take a night class, he went all in.
Totally radical. Quit the job, moved back home, and just immersed himself in learning programming. No distractions.
Yeah.
Textbooks, note cards, practicing out loud. Apparently worked through 18 programming books like that.
Wow, that's intense dedication.
And the result. 6 months later, this guy goes from 98% web surfing to landing a developer job in San Francisco, doubling his salary. And he kept the deep work habit, arriving early for hours of focused coding. It's a huge transformation.
It really shows the power of that focused effort. And the author talks about their own experience too, right? High productivity despite limited hours.
Yeah, publishing books, papers, getting a PhD tenure, all supposedly done while keeping fairly strict work hours, often finishing by 5 or 6 p.m.
How? That sounds unlikely for most academics I know.
The key, according to the source, was being absolutely ruthless about protecting 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted deep work almost every day. minimizing the shallow stuff relentlessly.
So recognizing that a few hours of true focus beats a whole day of distracted busyness.
That's the idea. More valuable output in less total time.
And this links to thriving with technology too, not just fighting against its distractions.
Exactly. The economy rewards people who can work with complex systems effectively. The Nate Silver example is perfect. He mastered tools like Stata and SQL databases.
Looking at those SQL examples in the source material, yeah, that's not just clicking buttons. That requires serious concentration to figure out how to ask the right questions of the data.
It's a deep task. Manipulating complex systems, extracting valuable insights. That's why some people are calling deep work the superpower of the 21st century.
A superpower. I like that. Okay, so the value proposition is strong. Learn faster, produce better, work well with tech. But here's the kicker, the paradox. If it's so valuable, why is it getting rarer? Why is it so hard for most of us?
Well, several big trends are working directly against it. Think about modern work environments. Open offices are a big one. Companies like Facebook, Square, they prioritize collaboration, maybe, but often at the expense of focus.
Yeah, constant noise and interruption. The sources even mention MIT professors adding soundproofing.
Just to get some quiet. And then there's the whole culture of connectivity, the expectation that you're always available, always responsive. Email, Slack, Teams, instant response expected.
That pressure is real. Tom Cochran's analysis you mentioned, estimating the cost of email processing time at his company.
Yeah, over $1 million a year in employee time. He jokingly compared it to the cost of a company Learjet, just processing email.
Wow. Puts it in perspective. And that other study, people checking email 20-25 hours a week outside work hours just to meet that perceived 1-hour response time.
It's pervasive, and add to that the pressure for professionals, even serious ones like journalists, to constantly be on social media, building a brand, distributing content.
Right. I remember Jonathan Franzen getting mocked for saying novelists shouldn't tweet, like he was some kind of dinosaur.
But then you have someone like George Packer, a New Yorker writer, calling Twitter crack and admitting he'd probably neglect his family if he got hooked. His deep work writing award-winning books clearly provides more value than tweeting would.
It's a trade-off. And
Oh.
maybe we don't always see the cost side clearly.
Exactly. It's become so normal that, the source mentions a refrigerated logistics company putting, like us on Facebook, on their trucks. There's this default assumption that anything internet-related must be good, innovative, necessary.
Even if it chips away at the time for deep thinking.
Yeah.
Like an Uber ideology, as the source puts it, where older values like craftsmanship get sidelined.
It's the path of least resistance.
So let's dig into why we fall into this, despite the costs. The sources point to a few things. First, that principle of least resistance you just mentioned.
Yeah. In the moment, especially when it's hard to measure your real impact, it's just easier to do the busy work. Answer the email, jump on the chat, switch tasks. It feels productive, requires less mental strain than tackling that really hard problem.
It's easier to clear the inbox than write the difficult chapter, even if the chapter is way more important.
Absolutely. Second, busyness becomes a proxy for productivity. Especially in jobs where output is fuzzy, hard to measure what the sources call the metric black hole.
Ah, okay. So if you can't easily point to valuable results.
You point to visible activity. Being seen to be busy, answering emails quickly, attending lots of meetings, it looks like you're working hard, proving your worth, even if it's mostly shallow stuff. Unlike, say, a scientist's publication record or a salesperson's numbers, which are more concrete.
So you measure the visible activity instead of the valuable output. Makes sense.
And third, there's that cult of the internet again, the sort of unquestioned belief that connection and online tools are inherently progressive and essential. This makes deep work, which is often solitary and offline, seem almost old-fashioned or less important.
Even though it might be driving the real value. Okay, so professional benefits are clear, but the sources also make this really interesting connection between deep work and, well, a meaningful life. How does that work?
There's a neurological argument and a sort of philosophical one. Neurologically, the sources talk about Winifred Gallagher's experience with cancer. She found that by deliberately choosing what to focus on intensely, she could actually shape her perception of reality.
So focusing on a good walk, a movie, despite the illness.
Yeah.
It made her experience of life better.
Yes. What you pay attention to determines the texture of your life. So conversely, if your attention is constantly fragmented, focused on shallow inputs like your inbox or social media feeds.
Your experience of work becomes stressful, reactive, trivial.
Exactly. Whereas deep work often leads to that state of flow,
Right.
where you're fully immersed, challenged, using your skills. That state itself is deeply satisfying, psychologically rewarding.
In the philosophical angle, it's about craftsmanship.
Yeah. The idea isn't necessarily that we just invent meaning out of nothing, but that we discern it through skilled engagement with the world. Like a traditional craftsman, a wheelwright, understanding the wood, discerning its quality through focused effort.
Finding the meaning in the work itself.
Precisely. And this applies to modern knowledge work too. Programmers talk about beautiful code, writers strive for the perfect sentence, researchers seek elegant solutions. Deep work allows you that intense engagement where you can appreciate that quality, that structure, that meaning in what you're doing. It allows you to be a craftsman.
So a deep life, facilitated by deep work, is ultimately a more meaningful, a better life.
That's the argument. It's not just about career advancement, it's about the quality of your existence.
Okay, powerful stuff, but let's get practical. If you're convinced, how do you actually do it? How do you cultivate this in a world practically designed to prevent it?
Right. And the key takeaway is that it's not about raw willpower. Willpower is finite. It's about building routines and rituals.
Ah, so systems over sheer effort.
Exactly. Create structures that minimize the need for moment-to-moment decisions about whether to focus. Build your personal deep work rituals.
Like setting aside specific times or places?
Yes. It could be grand gestures, like J.K. Rowling renting a hotel suite to finish Harry Potter, or Bill Gates doing his famous Think Weeks in a cabin. Those signal commitment and create boundaries.
They make it harder not to focus.
Right. But it doesn't have to be grand. It's about finding a structure, a philosophy that fits your life. The sources outline a few models.
Okay, what are they?
Well, there's the monastic approach. Basically, minimize shallow work almost completely. Think Donald Knuth, the computer scientist, who famously avoids email altogether.
Wow, that's probably not feasible for most people listening.
Highly unlikely for most, yes. More common might be the bimodal approach. This involves splitting your time into clearly defined chunks. Long, intense periods dedicated purely to deep work, separated from periods where you handle the shallow stuff.
Like Adam Grant batching all his teaching into one semester to free up the other for research. Or taking short, intense retreats.
Exactly. Then there's the rhythmic philosophy. This is about making deep work a regular, scheduled habit, like same time every day, maybe for 90 minutes. You build a rhythm, maybe track it, like Jerry Seinfeld's don't break the chain method.
Okay, that sounds more accessible. Building it into the daily routine.
And finally, the journalist approach. This is fitting deep work into any available gaps in your schedule whenever they pop up, like Walter Isaacson supposedly writing biographies during flights or waiting times. But the sources warn this takes a lot of practice. Your focus muscle has to be really strong already.
So you need to figure out which rhythm, monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, journalist, fits your job, your personality, your life circumstances.
Precisely. Find your style and then execute like a business. Apply structured execution principles to your personal goals.
What does that mean in practice?
It means focusing on just one or two really important deep work goals at a time. Tracking your lead measures, the key activities that drive success, like hours spent in deep work. Keeping a visible scoreboard to see your progress. And having some form of accountability.
And fixed schedule productivity. Setting a hard stop time. That sounds like it would reduce output.
Counterintuitively, it often increases the output of valuable work. By setting a fixed end time, say 5:00 p.m., and committing to it, you create scarcity. You only have so many hours.
Which forces you to be ruthless about how you use them.
Exactly. You have to prioritize the deep, high-value tasks because you know the clock is kicking. You can't just let shallow stuff expand to fill the time. Radhi Kanagpal at Harvard used this to stay highly productive while still getting home for family dinner.
It forces you to protect that deep work time. Okay, so that deals with prioritizing depth. But what about managing the unavoidable shallow stuff? How do you tame the shallows?
Several tactics here. One is scheduling every minute of your day. Not rigidly, but intentionally. Block out time for deep work, shallow tasks, meetings, breaks.
Just planning it makes you more aware of where time actually goes.
Yes. It stops time just vanishing into reactivity or whim. The source mentioned that study where people massively underestimated their TV watching time scheduling reveals those hidden time sinks, whether it's TV or more likely email and random browsing.
Okay, plan the day. What else?
Quantify the depth of your tasks. Use that rule of thumb. How long would it take to train a smart college grad to do this? Months or years? That's deep. Days or weeks? That's shallow. It helps you quickly sort activities by cognitive demand.
A quick filter for value. Good one. and dealing with interruptions,
Mhm.
especially email.
Make yourself harder to reach, essentially. Make it require a bit more effort for someone to interrupt you or demand your time. The example was an entrepreneur's contact form that filtered inquiries.
So apply that to email. Set expectations.
Right, maybe in your signature or just by how you respond. Also, do more work up front when you send or reply. Write clearer emails that anticipate questions, reducing the back and forth, and apply those professorial email sorting ideas.
Which were?
Basically, don't feel obligated to reply to ambiguous emails or ones that don't give you enough info or ones that clearly require more effort than the sender put in or that you can easily provide. Push the work back onto the sender to be clearer.
Reduces the shallow ping pong.
Yeah.
Okay. So structure, planning, managing the shallows. But deep work still requires intense focus. How do you actually train your brain to concentrate better?
Yeah, concentration is a skill, like any other. It needs practice. One key practice, the sources suggest, is to embrace boredom.
Embrace boredom. How?
Resist the urge to pull out your phone every time you have a spare moment waiting in line, commuting, whatever. Constantly seeking stimulation at the first hint of boredom trains your brain against sustained focus.
It trains you for distraction.
Exactly. Clifford Nass's research called chronically distracted people mental wrecks because they actually lose the ability to filter out irrelevancy and sustain focus.
Mental wrecks. Ouch. Okay, so resist distraction. What else?
Take breaks from focus, not breaks from distraction. If you spend your break time scrolling feeds or checking email, your brain doesn't actually rest its attention circuits.
Attention restoration theory. You need actual downtime.
Yes. Let your mind wander, maybe go for a walk in nature if you can. That downtime is crucial for restoring your ability to direct your attention and even for unconscious problem solving. And implement a strict shutdown ritual.
Tell me about that.
At the end of your workday, consciously review tasks, make a plan for tomorrow, and then explicitly say something like, shut down complete. Signal to your brain that it's okay to disengage from work thoughts. This prevents that endless churning on problems when you're trying to rest.
Creates a clean break. I like that. Any other focus exercises?
Productive meditation. This is where you focus intensely on a single, well-defined professional problem while doing something physically low effort, like walking, showering, driving.
So use that downtime for focused thinking on one thing.
Right. Define the problem clearly beforehand. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. It trains concentration, and you might actually solve the problem. The author used this for outlining books or tackling technical issues.
Practicing focus, even when not at your desk. And the most extreme suggestion.
Consider quitting social media, or at least doing a serious audit. The sources suggest a 30-day fast. Just stop using non-essential social media entirely for a month.
The fear is always missing out on something vital.
That's the fear. But the 30-day experiment lets you test that. Many find those tools were far less critical than they felt. The sources really push back against the any benefit justification, the idea that if a tool offers any potential upside, however small, you should use it.
So what's the alternative to any benefit?
The craftsman approach. Think like that farmer Forrest Pritchard evaluating his hay baler. He didn't just look at the benefit. He weighed all the costs, time, money, maintenance, and the opportunity cost against his core goal, which was soil health.
So for knowledge work, you evaluate tools, especially distracting networked ones, based on whether they significantly boost your most important high-value activities.
Yes. And do those benefits truly outweigh all the costs, including the massive cost of your fractured attention and lost deep work time? Apply the law of the vital few, the Pareto principle.
80-20 rule. A few key activities drive most of the results.
Exactly. Your tools should ruthlessly support those vital few things. Why do writers like Gladwell or Michael Lewis avoid Twitter? Because for their core work, deep research and writing the costs massively outweigh any benefits.
Giving up a tool isn't losing minor benefits. It's gaining back major time and focus for what truly matters.
Precisely. It's reclaiming your most valuable resources.
So wrapping this all up, this deep dive into deep work, it's pretty clear this is a skill that's incredibly valuable in our economy, maybe more than ever.
Valuable and yet increasingly rushed because of all these trends pushing towards shallowness.
And it's not just about work output. It's connected to, well, deeper satisfaction, meaning flow.
A more satisfying work life, definitely.
And crucially, even though it's hard, even though it pushes against the grain of convenience and maybe our own trained habits,
Yeah.
it is a skill you can cultivate.
It absolutely is. Through intention, through rituals, through training that focus muscle. It's a struggle, no doubt, in a world that prefers the shallow.
But as that conclusion in the sources puts it so well, Whether you approach deep work from science, psychology, or philosophy, the paths all converge. While the struggle to go deep can be uncomfortable at first, the focused life it enables is ultimately the best kind there is.
Yeah, it really lands that point. So maybe the final thought for you listening after exploring all this is, how could you start building your own version of Carl Jung's Bowling Tower?
His personal retreat for deep thinking.
Right. What's your equivalent? What place or time or ritual can you create in your own life to protect and cultivate this incredibly important skill? How will you make space to go deep?
A really powerful challenge to end on. Thank you for bringing all this material on deep work together. Definitely gives us a lot to think about.